Let's let everybody in. Okay. So firstly, welcome to FIDA Talks again during the week, and we're lucky to have Poppy Waddilove with us today, looking very glamorous, which is fantastic. And we're just going to discuss some of her work. I know a lot of people are obviously working and mentioned that they can't wait to see this talk. So we've got her during the day, which is fantastic. I'm just going to turn on a little presentation.
Okay.
Share this. Okay, so some of the areas we're going to talk about, just looking at your work, I guess, over the last few years, which has seen a big growth in your work and a big sort of change, is the portraits, interiors, some cats, some chairs, and some live drawing. And I see a theme not only with you. We recently spoke to Richard Haynes as well, and he had similar themes as well, like chairs as their roles of people.
Yeah, I love his chairs. They're fantastic.
So there's lots of people from Hockney to Van Gogh who've drawn chairs. So we'll kind of get to that. But with regards to what would be interesting before we start is just to get an overview of your initial journey into fashion illustration and how you got to where you are now.
Okay, well, first off, it's really good to meet you finally, by the way. It's lovely to see your face. So I started basically at Central St Martin's. I did foundation fashion design there. And then I realised I wasn't particularly great at making the clothes. So I just wanted to draw them and the people in them. So I went to London College of Fashion, did a degree in fashion illustration. And then after that, it was just kind of a bit of a roller coaster of loads of internships in all different areas of the industry, like from like set design to, buying at Ralph Lauren, like lots of different types of things. And then I actually went into selling work in an actual job, being an art consultant. And then after that, I just kind of realized that illustration and drawing and painting were the only things that I wanted to do. They were the only things that felt natural to me. So I just decided to take a risk and kind of go for it full time.
Which is a good risk. And I guess some of the feedback, not only from you, is other artists who are trying to crack the code and think that there's a sort of way in, is if listening to you there is working as a buyer, working as an art curator, working as a seller, learning all these different disciplines, and then kind of coming back to a space and saying, okay, well, this is really what I want to do. And I've learned a lot of stuff, and I've learned things that I don't like, and I've learned things that I do like. And then right now I'm just going to get on with it and try and craft out my own look and feel, which I guess, and you'd done you went to LCF and still had done a degree in fashion illustration, and then went and did something else and kind of came back. I think a lot of people do that because they need a break from their degree experience, and then they say, I just need a break from what I was doing, do something different, and then you kind of come back to what you love. And that sort of, how long was the gap between doing all the other stuff until you kind of came back, or were you doing it in the background and then it just became more of a sort of part of your life?
Well, I mean, it was from uni, after uni, it was about 5 years. It was a long time. I think I wanted to know a bit of everything. I wanted to be really inquisitive. I wanted to meet tons of people. At the same time, I was like trying to make some money, working in a bar, doing any bit that I could to just kind of get by financially, but also just learning tons of bits about design and art and things like that. But yeah, it took about 5 years to do it full time, 5 to 6 years, maybe.
So that's a good bit of information, because I think a lot of people, they've done illustration or on Instagram for 1 or 2 years, and they're sort of panicking. Oh, why hasn't my career taken off? Or why not? The journey's huge. It takes a long time, and it's just hard graft. I can't put it any, and then there's bumps in the road. It's never always easy. And I know you because you recently went to Moscow. I saw you in Moscow.
Oh yeah. Oh, that was amazing.
So, and you get to do these experiences, go to Moscow and go over there and draw and teach drawing and almost bring over some of the knowledge that you did probably learn at LCF, and bring in incorporate some of them classes that I know you probably had. Sue Dre was she running the course then?
Yeah, she was. I'm really good friends with Sue, actually. I've lived with Sue. We lived together for like a year, and well, I lived at her home, and she's just fantastic. She's just such an inspiring woman, and she really is just, we just formed a really good bond, get on really well, and she's just absolutely amazing as a teacher, and as a person and as an artist.
Because I saw her so many years ago. I did a talk with Tony Glenville. I can't remember what year it was, but it was probably I was just finishing starting my master's, and it might have been 2015. And I came in and gave a talk, but it was an evening talk, and there was like people drinking and stuff like that, so it was quite funny. And Sue, and I saw Sue, and she asked me to join the course, but I was doing my MA, so it was kind of impossible to fit it in to kind of teach as well. But I guess the people that went on to teach there have been fantastic, and I'm trying to remember his name who did the talk. He does the big sort of lips. You might remember his name.
Oh, so the big lips.
Shooter now.
Because I know, like, I was taught by Piers Atkinson, who was also because he's an incredible hat designer. But the big lips, like an illustrator.
He's a fashion illustrator, and he was talking with me. I'm trying to remember his name, but I'm pretty sure he'll come back to me. But I think he went in and did some sort of visiting lecturing classes.
Right. It doesn't ring a bell at the moment, but it'll probably come back to me after this.
It'll come back to one of us, and I'll post him later. I can't remember. But anyway, let's get through some of this. So portraiture and people, I guess, has been a bit of your focus, and the process of doing these sorts of portraits. Are you using found reference, or are you looking at people when you do these portraits?
So because I'd love to draw more live from people, but it's not always that possible. So I mainly just do find loads of fashion photography, loads of images, and I make a lot of mood boards, and I get like a few ideas of like makeup, that woman's face, but I like that angle, and I kind of put it together in my mind.
Yeah, and because I know from looking at your work, what's quite nice about it is it disconnects from the actual originals. So you restyle it, which is quite nice, rather than totally sort of emulate or appropriate 100%.
Yeah.
There's this real sort of distance from it, but I guess the mood's there. Because, photographers, if we're using their imagery, it's nice to have them as a sort of a background.
Yeah.
To move them along or away from the original.
Yeah, absolutely.
Quite important.
And it's, that's quite like a bit of a journey in itself, because at the beginning I was direct referencing, but then as I gained in confidence with what I liked and what I was drawn to, I was able to kind of move away from the actual image and kind of style it myself. So it takes a little bit of time, but I really enjoy doing that.
And how are you finding the sort of mixing of style? Because you're kind of doing stuff with oil paints, and then you're doing stuff with watercolors, acrylics, but the technique is kind of, I don't know, when I look at the oil paintings, they're much more looser.
Yes.
And freer.
Yeah. I do prefer working with oils, but they're so time consuming, and sometimes it's not always possible. So I felt like I had to move away from it for a little while, in terms of more commercial projects, and even sometimes for myself, just kind of you just kind of want to experiment anyway, and use lots of different materials. But I think oil paintings for me are my first love. There's a real dream-like quality to them. that sometimes can't come across as much in other mediums, I think.
Yeah, and there's a silkiness to them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and you know, like I can really see the difference, and I don't know, the sort of the outcome feels richer and there's sort of a more wholesome, but they're so much harder to do.
Yeah, they are.
Mistakes, and if yours is quite a direct sort of approach to painting.
Yeah, absolutely.
If there's a cock up, it's basically either rip it up, unless you want them sort of working outs in your drawing. But if you look at what you're doing, it's sort of, this is a decision and I've got to stick with it. And
yeah, but like, I mean, I think with oil paints, they can be, you know, they're quite malleable as well, aren't they? So, you know, you can slightly change it as you go along, but it has to look natural. Yeah. You know, like for me, anytime I overwork something, it just completely goes wrong. So it has to feel slightly fresh and slightly immediate, but you can hone them to how you want.
Yeah, no, definitely. Let's have a look further. So interiors, I remember interviewing you and luckily getting some information out of you with regards to like chairs, because you do a lot of chairs.
Yeah, I do love chairs.
And we were just talking about chairs and artists who've referenced chairs and used chairs that they feel like another line of portraiture. They represent either a person or an experience of a life of a person, because a chair has a lifetime.
Yeah.
And I think that's so. Like your sort of drawness to chairs, was there you just drew them, or you find them amazing, or?
Yeah, I mean, like for me, there's no real deep purpose to it. It's just, I think I love seeing beautifully designed chairs. There's something quite ornate, you know, when you see the really ornate chairs, and maybe it's something kind of historical, quite romantic about it. And they're just so fun to draw. You know, I think for me, I don't think too deeply about what I approach. I just think, oh my gosh, I love drawing this. And then hopefully it becomes something.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people sometimes overthink it. And that's when you get this sort of block of, what should I paint? And is everyone going to like it? And is it going to get 1,000 likes? And what's going to happen to my life if I don't? And sometimes you just have to just draw something, whether it's a chair, and it sort of just grabs you like a piece of rope. Yeah. Says, right, come over here. And I guess the shoes is a really interesting, I guess, an area, because the way you're capturing the shoes is quite almost narrative looking. Like they've been thrown on the floor. Warhol did shoes, which was famous for the shoes. Yeah. So I guess the shoes. Are you a collector of shoes?
No, I love shoes. Thing is, you know, I've never had the money to really buy the shoes that I want. So, you know, hopefully one day. But again, it's funny because I love drawing really beautiful, quite glamorous things. Because it's things that I want, the environment that I want to be around. And for me, it's like all the things that I want, I paint. So it's almost like I'm building a world for myself that I want to be a part of. That's how I see it.
That's I guess that's quite nice. I don't know. For me, I feel a sort of modern Rococo style is how
that's nice.
There's sort of this dreamy, decorative, beautiful celebration of the decorative, but in a very sort of fast, modern, contemporary way. And what's really nice is you've sort of built up your own vocabulary, which I like. That's what's kind of made you unique to your own technique. So it's quite good that I don't say, oh, right, this looks like this person or this looks like this person. It's
that's really good to
hear. Which is, I guess, the eureka moment.
Yeah, that's so lovely, because I guess as a creative, you know, I'm never overly confident about my work ever. I just paint and draw what I love and hope that other people will like it. But that's a really amazing compliment. Thank you. So you're always terrified about copying or if it's like, but you know, it's like you said, you can't, for me, I just don't overthink things. And I think that's the main thing. You've just got to be excited about things.
Yeah, and because I don't know if I've mentioned it to someone else, but when I went to my talk with Tony Glenville, and I was showing some drawings I think I did for Dior, and he said, oh, you're like a young David Downton. And that was it. I went home and I destroyed everything. And I don't know, I guess you go through these moments, and he has such a sort of prominence in what he does. And if you draw with ink pens, or if you draw with any sort of ways of working, or there's watercolor in there, or there's blurring, people connect you to these sort of areas, and you're like, shit, I need to kind of move away, or, you know, because you really want to find your own tone of voice. And I think for me, when I see your stuff now, I'm like, it's fresh, it's yours, and it's unique. And I think that is only well done.
Thanks.
I think that's a real great thing. And, you know, keep going and keep moving in these places. I think it's really interesting. And I love to see, you know, I'm going to try stuff with oil paints now, and I'm going to risk bigger stuff, or and it's a tough, and confidence. We talk about courage, you know, to do what you do, and then have a painting, and then do a sort of very loose chair. You're going to have lots of critics who might say, well, that's not really the leg of a chair. You know, obviously you have to be aware of your audience, that you can't care about an audience, even though you want to sell work. You have to just do what you do and put it out there and go, you either like it or you don't. And tough is the only feedback you can get. It is, because I put up someone's work once, and then I got loads of criticism. This is crap. And I loved the work. You know, it was almost like blind drawing. It's not Jessica Rose, but it was someone else who did these huge sort of portraits, and he was working with John Paul Gaultier, and it was just because it was his, and that was what I liked about it. But loads of people were like, this is crap. And I got so much bad feedback. But I'm like, I don't care.
I find that a bit bizarre as well. Like I think it's quite interesting, because in some ways I think, you know, that's a reaction, and art has to have some sort of reaction. And I think I do find that strange when people get angry when they see something that they don't necessarily, it doesn't please them, because that's what art's supposed to be. It's not going to please everybody. It's just how somebody's expressing themselves. So I never really understand those kind of comments. But, you know, in some ways, it's quite good to have strong reactions. You don't want meek reactions, I guess.
Yeah, and I've kind of stood by that now. And sometimes I'm really like, I'm going to put up some seriously bad stuff and really be against it.
Like, just really antagonize everyone.
And really anti-system. It's I guess that's the arty side of me, and probably like anybody is
rebellious.
We want to be rebellious and sort of have this Vivienne Westwood attitude of, no, we're not going to be. We're going to be a bit more against the system, anti. I guess with what I'm trying to achieve is put out there that there's so many voices, and it may not fit into these beautiful sort of nice, what I call nice illustrations. We're talking about a sort of a fashion practice, a fashion art practice, and that is the fundamentals of what I'm trying to, which I've tried to do since sort of lockdown happened, and tried to promote this new, come on, there's a new wave. I think there's a new wave happening, and it isn't about making nice things. And that's what's quite good. So I guess with yours, it teeters on both. People will go beautiful colors, but I think there's a nice romance there. And you know, there's a talk I mentioned before about David Sally, and he says at the end of the day, people want good things on the wall. So if you're going to create great pictures, so I think, you know, well done and fantastic. The next bit was these sorts of was the cats. We'll come to the cats, because you have featured a lot of cats, and there's lots of cats online. and I noticed another artist, Chris Grambrell, he's drawing cats, and I think this sort of love of cats. Where's the love of cats, or is it like shoes? You just want these cats?
Well, I mean, I actually didn't start drawing cats of my own accord. It was for Fashion Illustration Gallery. Right. It was for their auction. So when they asked me to draw cats, like, I'm a huge fan of cats. I'm a cat person. So I was like, amazing. Because I've actually, before this, I'd never drawn a cat before, ever. I can't remember when I drawn them. And I remember spending about 2 weeks just literally cats, like every day. And I was just having so much fun with it. I think I was thinking of, Aristocats, I was thinking of really posh, attitudey cats. And I think with cats, they just do have so much personality. They're so, again, like they're kind of like creatives. They're like artists, I think. They're kind of, they've got their own kind of unique way of seeing things, and they're rebellious, and they don't always kind of do what everybody expects. I kind of like that about them. They're, you know, and they're so elegant, so beautiful to draw.
And did you get, well, out of interest, did more work spiral out from this, or what was
actually, I feel a few people were getting in touch about cats, definitely, but not really, actually. No, I think it was a very brief moment for Fashion Illustration Gallery, and I would love to do another series of them, but I haven't really had the time. I've kind of just been doing portraits, but it would be really great to do another project on cats. I really enjoy doing them.
Because we saw there's another person, Manon Cardine, and she was doing the dogs for Hermes. So she went to, well, she went to Monaco or somewhere. I can't remember, she might correct me, but I saw her doing a load of people's dogs, which was like a live drawing, which was fantastic.
That's amazing. I can imagine that being so fun.
Yeah, and I think if people did that, like brought their cats in, you know, into Tiffany's or somewhere like that, and you brought in these elegant cats, and people say, oh, well, there's either you and the cat, or the cat, you know, you perch the cat. But you'll have, I went to Nottingham, and they've got a cat coffee shop.
Yeah, they have them everywhere. Well, like
the cats.
Quite big hotels in London, you know, they've got their own in-residence cat, like the Lanesborough.
Yeah, so how good you could hang out with the cats. I'm shocked, because I saw the cats, and I thought, and I saw the dogs that people, I think Cecilia Karlstad did some dogs, Jessica Rose did some dogs, I think.
Yes.
I remember, and they were amazing, and I'm surprised there hasn't been a huge wave, because cats online is massive.
Yeah, absolutely. They're so huge. I don't know what it is about. Apparently, they're looked at more than dogs online.
Yeah, I don't. And a lot of my friends have their own Instagram for their cats. I'm actually getting our first cat.
Are you? You're getting a cat?
We're getting a cat, and I've been against it for 5 years.
I can sense in your voice.
and my kids have been pestering me. They got hamsters, and now the cat's gonna come and probably kill the cat.
Oh my God. You've got to keep those hamsters away. They're going to kill them instantly.
They will. So
the hamsters are going to be terrified.
Well, we're gonna have to lock them up or something. But my mum just had 5 kittens, and her cat had 5 kittens, and she's been pestered. You've got to get a cat. You've got to get a cat. I mean, no, where are we going to put it? Who's going to feed it? If we go on holiday, they're the big problems. But I guess a cat, I don't know. I've got loads of cats, 15 cats next door that come in, and they poo in my garden all the time.
15 cats?
Yeah, so the person next door's got like 15 cats, and their cat just poos.
As in kind of like taking them in, and
they just no, her cat, she's got 3 or 4 cats, who then has kittens, and one of the cats was under my back garden area, and they obviously had their cats there. They didn't know, and all the cats think that's their family home now. So if I go out in the garden, there's like 10 cats looking at me, and I'm like, if I feed them, they'll all come back.
So for someone that doesn't really like cats, you're gonna be surrounded by cats.
I've got cats everywhere, so it's a good thing. But
you'll end up loving. I'm telling you now. Once you get a cat, you'll fall in love with it, or him or her.
I guess I thought about, well, I won't have to keep walking this cat, and he looks after itself, and it goes out and it does what it does overnight, and then comes back.
Exactly. But you will find, you know, like my cat, for example, dropped a dead mouse down my back. Oh no, sorry, it was a live mouse. Down my back, down the back of my top. So they do things like that. It was crawling all over my body. I actually had to just go like that with my jumper to get it out. That's what they do. They are really evil, but they're the cutest things ever. You just forgive them.
We had, well, I'm constantly getting mice being killed and left in my garden.
Oh, lovely.
And then I've got a cat, he sits on the barbecue. And I've even got cats, and I've got 1,500 cats in my garden. And these cats, I usually have one cat looking at me. I see cats walk past my studio all day. Then I have a cat on the barbecue. Then I have another cat who kills all the animals and drops them off. And now we're going to get a cat. Maybe, I don't know what, it's going to be like pimping out.
They all have like different personalities. One kills loads of mice, the other's on a barbecue.
But I think I'm shocked there hasn't been more cat art and more cat drawings and pieces. But I guess people want themselves more, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Let's wait and see. So from the live arts point of view, I didn't know you did it as much as you probably do, or like, I mean, because you did some recently. I saw you went to Moscow, but so before we talk about Moscow, I saw you did was it for Bulgari or Tiffany?
Yeah, Bulgari and Rolex.
Rolex. And how did that come about, and how was that experience?
Yeah, I mean, because I've been doing live drawing for actually quite a while, but when COVID hit, obviously it just, couldn't do any of that. So literally just about 2 months ago, so I know this really lovely woman at Bulgari. I've kind of done some work with her before. She asked me to do an event, and basically, I just kind of went into the store, and you just kind of drawing, people were coming in, picking out jewelry that they wanted. They were wearing the jewelry, and I'd illustrate them wearing these beautiful jewelry in Bulgaria. And it's just, live events are one of my favorite things to do, because you meet so many people. It's very, very intense. So it's obviously, it's like, you're drawing like 5 portraits or more than that an hour. But it's just so enjoyable. It's just an incredible experience. Like, it's so comforting. Everybody's so lovely. Everybody's so excited about getting their portrait done. It's a really incredible experience.
And did, like, with regards to the Moscow experience, because that was more you running life drawing classes, I think.
Yeah.
How did that come about?
Well, I was contacted by Art Life and Anastasia, who runs it. And, it was just completely out of the blue. I mean, I must admit, I hadn't really known about them, and they're massive. They're a massive organisation funded by the Moscow government. And they've been going on for a few years now. So they contacted me, this was like last year, and they said about, me doing, featuring some pieces at the exhibition being held there, and me going over there teaching workshops, and also actually being filmed for like online classes as well. So obviously I completely jumped on board, because I was like, that sounds incredible. And it was a lot of organising. So it's just a lot of, creating a collection for the exhibition, and then also organising the workshop before I got there, like thinking about these online classes, which are, you have to kind of get all this work together and really think about it. And and when I was over there, it was just like, like one day exploring, and I was with Helen Bullock, so she's a part of it as well. And we had so much fun on the first day. It was incredible, just like gallivanting around in Moscow, seeing all these amazing places. It was just the best day. And then after that, it was like, most intense experience ever. But everybody was so lovely. I can't even talk anymore, like any higher of it. The organisation was incredible. The people were amazing. It just was, it was really something else. It's very surreal.
Because I guess an interesting fact, because I've taught quite a lot of Russian artists and illustrators, and a lot of people who not only follow but are involved with what we do and involved in fashion illustration are Russian. I think 25% of who follow most people are Russian in the fashion illustration.
Oh, right. Wow.
It's a huge volume of Russians. And like, we had another person who spoke last week, and she says there's some really hardcore teaching and schools over there with regards to fashion illustration and fashion art. She said they say that there's not much work over there with regards to fashion illustration, but everybody loves it. And and you must have had that experience going there. And we have Maxim Sergev, who you might have seen his work. He's a sort of pencil drawer.
Yeah, beautiful work.
He's constantly posting fantastic videos of him teaching life drawing. They do a lot of life drawing. I think they have a high regard for the arts for craft. They love drawing, and a very sort of academic approach to, you know, where in London we're much more like go crazy,
so
get paint on the page, where in Russia it'd be like, no, it is like you draw like this, and then they kind of step out of that zone. They kind of have a different journey, which is quite, I guess, quite an interesting experience. So any more live arts coming up? Are you doing any more stuff coming in the future?
Yeah, I mean, I hate to say it just in case, but it's confirmed. But I'm doing another event for Bulgaria in Selfridges.
Oh, lovely.
On the 10th of December. I think I'm illustrating live actually for a client in Japan. She's got a gallery, and she's called Motoko. Her account's like Akira Fine Art, but she has a gallery, and she got in touch with me a very long time ago, and I have some pieces with her in her sort of gallery, and she's like getting clients in, and I think I'm drawing them live on Zoom, which would be really, really fun. And I do have another event, and I think it's with a small kind of luxury lifestyle company. So I think there might be a couple more coming in, but the more the better. I love doing it. So for me, it's just like a real thrill, you know, being in the studio for like weeks and months on end on your own, and then bam, you're like with loads of people. I mean, it's just it's a little bit more exciting, to be honest.
No, it is. I guess because a lot of people don't understand that one day you could be penniless, and then the next day you get a phone call and it's Bulgaria, or it's, oh right, you're flying to Russia. I remember I went to Japan, and I was doing something with NAS, and it's like a phone call, and right, you're going to Japan, and it was in Osaka for this. It's like Selfridges, and they said, right, you're drawing stuff. So I had to do stuff for McQueen, Stella McCartney, and I was drawing live in the windows. And I had like 1,000 people photographing you, like, and you're sweating away.
That's so incredible. So, was that in Tokyo?
That was in Osaka.
Oh my gosh, how amazing.
It was interesting, and I brought my wife, because I said, look, we're never going to get a chance to really go to Japan for free, so you're coming as my assistant.
Oh my gosh, how was that?
What am I going to do? And I said, don't worry, improvise. And I just gave her some jobs, and she was like, why have you and they kept on saying, so how's your art practice as an assistant? And she was like, well, yeah, it's going quite, making it all up. And we were on you go on telly and the live, and they were more asking her questions than me. And I was like, she does not.
Oh, that is I bet she just wants to gallivant out and just explore. And you're like, yeah, can you hold the paintbrushes? Can you?
And you're kind of, I think we had, like you have one day off. Yeah. We were there for like 10, 11 days.
Were you? Wow.
And it was
like every single day working.
Every day working from probably 9 to 5. And there was another few artists there who, you know, they were from Sweden, and they'd flown over loads of people, and it was great. We drunk way too much. And
I mean, that is amazing that you can drink and like work. I'd be such a baby. I'm like, I can't do that. Like, I feel like I'm really old right now. I feel like I can't do that anymore.
No, that's the best advice for yourself is don't. And I think like the last night we went out, because they were like celebrating, we did it and it was fantastic. And they went, you've got to come, because they drink a lot. They drink hardcore sake and they drink everything. And then they were like, come on. And I was like, we've got to fly tomorrow. And I was ill for the whole 17 hours flight.
Oh,
I lost my trainer on the flight.
You lost your
ill. I lost my shoe. I lost my trainer.
How the hell did you lose a shoe?
Because I was so drunk from going out with them.
Were you actually drunk on the flight?
I was drunk for the whole flight.
Oh my God. How did you organise yourself? I can barely organise myself, hyped up on coffee.
It was terrible. It was terrible.
Oh my God.
I guess that's the experience of being young. You know, I think it was about 2 or 3 years after I graduated and I had this opportunity and I was like, let's just go. And it's all experiences, you know, and I went to Moscow. I think I went to Moscow about 4 times doing work.
So what did you think of Moscow?
I thought it was terrible the first 2 times. And then the second 2 times was because I went and they went, right, you've got a driver. You're not allowed to do, like, we'll drive you around everywhere. And I was like, how am I discovering anything? So it's I felt quite frightened. And then the second 2 times I said, don't worry, you can do what you want. And if you need a driver, just ring us.
Right, okay.
And we were running a fashion show called Moda Moscow. And it was organizing fashion shows. And it was amazing. And we brought over some British designers. We had Mark Powell, who's a bespoke tailor. I don't know if he worked with Jimmy Nutter and all the old sort of designers. He'll probably know he'll know all the old school sort of fashion illustrators, but they wanted the Savile Row tailorers to go to Moscow. They want that old traditional stuff. And it was great. And, you know, Russia's a definite experience.
Yeah.
Experience. And
it really is.
Oh,
that's incredible. I mean, it's incredible you've been quite a few times, and the Japan, like I love Japan. I went to Tokyo and it was only for like 12 days, but oh my God, that was such an experience. I will never forget it. And to do a job over there, I can't even imagine how amazing that would have been. Because I think for me, that is kind of a dream, to go to Tokyo and to do some work over there. Because that's the amazing thing, isn't it? I think that's what I'd love to travel and you know, and work and actually do projects out there a lot more, because it's so uplifting and it's such a, you know, it's wonderful, isn't it, to get those opportunities. It's
I think that's what people forget, is that as an illustrator or even an artist or whatever we want to call ourselves, is opportunities do come.
Yeah,
and you
absolutely.
kind of have to float with them.
Yeah.
And if you're going to get paid, you can fly everywhere and you can have great experiences. And they're the benefits of just getting out there and saying, look, I just want to do this. And it took me about nearly a year before I got my first commission. And then I got a job for Nokia, and then I got a job for Selfridges. And then, you know, things start happening. And I was like, oh, I've done a degree. I'm not getting any work. What the hell's going on? I had an agent, which was, I guess, a bit of a benefit, because they're trying to help you get work. But it still took a year before anything really started to happen.
Yeah, and even a year, I would say, is quite short. I mean, you know, I think I've been doing this for 8 years, and you know, I think that's definitely something that, you know, like, it's good to talk about, because everything's kind of, it's so accessible now. Everything's quick, everything's fast, especially within this time. And I do think that it's people lose that that idea that it does take a very long time to get these things. And once you do, it can be like life-changing. But to get there, it's just grit, discipline. And sometimes it's just sometimes it's boredom as well. It's the drudgery of like everyday life, you know, pushing on. And then it's like, bam, and then you get something fantastic. But it's also making the most of the experience as well. Like, you have to make the most of every day. Kind of thing.
No, it's, so I try and don't go on for too long. So it's kind of brilliant to have you, and we could probably chat forever. And we're hoping next year, I'm hoping, because I was trying to book an event with somewhere, and they were like, even next year for events is so complex. Like we had an event at Blake's Hotel 2 years ago when we first started. And since then, if you want to do anything, it's very, you know, you have to do the lateral flow tests, and I was trying to book Condé Nast Fashion College for something, and they were like, it is so so to meet people, this seems to be the safest and easiest way at the moment. But
hopefully it will change. It's very tedious, because it's such a shame, because to meet people is really something special, and on Zoom it's not quite the same, as lovely as it is, but it's not the same.
It isn't, and just having a little drink together, and even just seeing each other and going, oh right, that's who you are, and and like we're seeing each other face to face now, and we've just been connecting via Instagram or messaging, and you're like, who is this bloody guy? He keeps hassling me.
No, it's been so lovely to have, thank you, you've been such an amazing support, so I really appreciate it so much.
Yeah, I just know from my experience of doing it for 20 odd years, and having an experience.
Really extensive career. You've done so many different things.
Oh,
incredible.
It's hard. It's hard work, and I guess the experience is great. But I just know that I feel that for fashion illustration or fashion art or whatever it is, and I keep having that grapple with the art, because when it comes to illustration, I see people undervaluing what they do, and they undersell themselves. So that's my biggest concern, is that we have to change the autonomy of fashion illustration as a discipline. And,
absolutely.
And for you to survive, you can't survive on nothing, and people have to appreciate what you do. So that's kind of my sort of goal, and my manifesto is to say, look, as a collective, if we could game change it a bit, and if everybody kind of has a little bit of a role in it, and it's great that people come on and speak and share, it gives people a bit more hope and knowledge that they can say, okay, I can persist, and it isn't easy, and and having confidence to charge that more money, or navigate what should be free, what shouldn't be free, what benefits you or not. And it's a learning curve, and it's learning how to navigate them spaces. But anyway, so thank you, Poppy, because we'll end on this note, because it's been fascinating. I know, you have to get on with your life. And we, and hopefully probably next year we'll probably meet up sometime. We're trying to do some stuff for Fashion Week. I guess you're probably doing stuff for Fashion Week as well. Like, we're planning for that now. I'm trying to get some balls rolling in them areas.
Yeah, well, get it, definitely. It'd be lovely to hear from you. If you things are always quite, they're always changing and things with me, so it's just just get in touch anytime, and if it'd be lovely to hear from you always.
Yeah, we've got some plans, and I'll message you, because I think there's some areas that you definitely would enjoy, because I've got some little ideas, because I really want us to be a part of Fashion Week, and I can't believe we're sort of a sideshow. And when I saw Sue Dre drawing a graduate Vauxhall Fashion Scout, the graduate Fashion Week, I was like, why isn't she in the Dior show or in the front row of McQueen? Like, why? And why isn't there 10 of her? And why does it take Sue Dre to do what she's doing? I was like, this is shocking. There's 1,000 photographers over there, and there's one illustrator. Like, how has this happened when there's so many amazing artists out there?
Absolutely. And it really brings something else to it brings something else to the table. It's a really interesting take, it's an interesting angle. So it's absolutely. I mean, you make some really good points. I think it's really important to get more artists in there.
Yeah, and I know they'd love it, because they'd have done it at LCF, especially, is drawing live in classes. So sticking them at a fashion show is no problem. It's easy. That's the easiest, and it'll be fun. So I'm hoping that they'll have more of a role. But I'll be speaking to the BFC, and they're top of my radar now.
Okay, great.
Really get them to get us in there. Yeah, so that's the goal. But anyway, thank you.
Thanks, Patrick.
Thank you for the cat chat and all the other information.
Yeah, we had such a big talk about cats.
People were going to say they didn't talk about art, they spoke about cats.
Yeah, pretty much.
Anyway, all right. Thank you, Poppy.
Anyway,
have a great day.
Thank you for having me. Take care.
No worries. Bye-bye.
Bye.